Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Baxley with Sew Unique Sewing. Welcome to day 3 of beginning sewing class. Today we are going to be making this cute little drawstring bag. This is a bag that I made at Christmas time for gift giving. This is great to keep on hand if you have a little piece of jewelry, just a little small trinket that you want to give. You can make this a little bit longer to make it a wine bag, which is great also at the holidays when you're going to people's homes for dinners. Today you are going to need 2 fat quarters and a piece of ribbon that is approximately ½ yard long. Now that we have our fat quarters nice and pressed, always important to press your fat quarters before you start cutting. You're going to lay your fat quarter on your board and you're going to line it up at ground zero. Remember ground zero. And we are going to cut both fat quarters. You want your 18 inches going this way and your 21.5 going to your right. So we are going to cut these at 9 inches. And then we're going to turn them just to even them up just a little bit and just make sure they are both at 18. This fat quarter just happens to be a little bit bigger than 18, so we'll get that all lined up. Now that you have both of your fat quarters cut, 18 by 9, we're going to put them together and we're going to lay them right sides together. That means pretty side to pretty side, and they're going to kiss. And then you're going to pin or clip those. Remember, if you're using pins, you're going to pin it. You're going to dive in, jump up, and leave the head out. Okay? And now we're going to take it to the machine. And I still have my walking foot on. I'm sorry about that, peeps. So you're going to start sewing and you're going to lock your stitch and sew forward. And as you get to the end there, you're going to lock your stitch as well. And you're going to do that to both sides. Now that you have both sides of your fabric sewn down completely, those are on the short sides. The big sides, the long sides should still be open. We're going to turn this right side out. We're going to lay this nice and flat. Then I want you to take a small, this is a friction pen. You can use a friction pen. You can use any kind of pencil or anything like that that would wash out. And you're going to make a little mark 1 inch down from that top seam on each side. And then you're going to do it on the other side as well, 1 inch and then 1 inch. And then you're going to measure just underneath that another inch and then another inch, and the same thing on the opposite side. And those marks will become important at our next step. We're going to turn this back inside, wrong sides out, okay? And then you're going to match up these seams. You're going to have your outer fabric and your inner fabric, and you're going to match up these seams and you're going to nest them. So what that means is this seam will go this way and this seam will go that way, and then you want to put a little pin there. And we're going to turn it around on the other side. We're going to do the same thing with those seams. This side's going to go that way and this side's going to go that way, and you want to make sure that they go the same direction on each side. And then you're going to pin all the way around, and then we'll come back to that next step. Now that you have that pinned all the way around with those seams nice and nested, make sure you take your marking pen and highlight those marks again that you made on the other side, and then we're going to take it to the machine. These marks are where you're not going to sew. Those marks are going to make a casing for your ribbon to go through in a later step. Now you're going to start sewing on your outer bag, and you're going to sew down, making sure you lock your stitch. And you're going to sew all the way down until you get to that first line that you made. And then you're going to stop and lock your stitch and cut your thread. You'll pick up sewing again at the next line. and you're gonna lock your stitch there. Again, remember this is where the casing is going. So we're gonna sew all the way down to the end, and we're gonna lock our stitch. And we're gonna start sewing again on the outer side of the bag. We're gonna lock our stitch and come on down. And we're gonna sew to that second line that we made there and lock our stitch and cut your thread. Now we're gonna start sewing on that second line there. Remember, this is to form the casing. So you're gonna lock your stitch, make sure that seam lays nice and pretty. And you're gonna stop leaving about a 2 to 3 inch opening before you get to the bottom. Okay, that's gonna be our turn our bag around, and we're gonna lock our stitch and cut your thread. Now that you've got that all sewn together, we're gonna pull this out. We're gonna tuck it right side out. We're going to get the outside of that bag out. You should be able to stick your hand in that little hole that we have there. And you want to poke those corners out with your finger. Get them nice and poked out, nice and pretty. And it'll lay nice and flat like that. Now you left that hole for turning. You're going to make sure that you've tucked those raw edges inside, and it should fold pretty easily. It's going to match your seam allowance that you did on the other side of the seam over here. You're going to tuck that in there and clip it or pin it, and you're going to take it over to the machine. Now we're going to just sew that down, okay? Remember that this is the inside of your bag, so it's really not going to matter. No one's going to see that. So you want to seal that up nice and good, cut your thread, and now your bag is all sealed. Your next step, you're going to put the lining inside the outer bag, and you're just going to tuck it, and then you'll have that seam up there nice and pretty. Now that you've got the inner bag inside the outer bag, we're going to go back to our little marks. And again, I'm using a friction pin or a fusion pin. And this is just going to create that casing where our ribbon is going. Okay? So then you're going to do that on that side, and you're going to flip the bag over. And because we know where we measured, you can see it on the other side. You should be able to line it up pretty easily. Depending on what size ribbon you bought, I have 1/2 inch ribbon here, so I'm making an approximate inch casing for our ribbon, and now we're going to take it to the machine. Now some of you will have a free arm machine. A free arm machine is where you can pull off a piece of it, and it just gives you a nicer base when you're doing armholes and bags and things of this nature. So we're going to just slip that over our machine, and we're going to sew all the way around the top line, and then we're going to come around and we're going to sew all the way around the bottom line. Now that you have your casing done, if you've used a friction pin, you can go ahead and take it to the iron and iron that off. I've already done that before we've come back on camera. You're going to take a safety pin. That's what I found to be the easiest way. Put it in the end of your ribbon, and you're just going to feed that through that opening that you have there. So you left that opening on both sides so your ribbon can come out the other side and then go back in, or you can just take it all the way around. Once you get that ribbon all the way through, you're going to pull it out just enough. Be careful not to pull it all the way through. You're going to remove that safety pin, and then you're going to tie the end of the ribbon together. Okay, tie it together so that'll keep it from slipping through there. If you'd prefer, you can sew those edges together, but now you have, let me just tuck that out just a little bit, you have a nice cute little drawstring bag for gift giving. It is reversible, so if you want to change the way you do your lining, you can just pull that in. Your drawstring will be in the center. Again, makes a great gift giving bag. Congratulations, you have completed day 3 of our beginning sewing class. Join us tomorrow when we will make this cute little zipper pouch. I know we're afraid of zippers, Huh? But I'm going to show you a way to put in a zipper that's going to make it so easy. Tomorrow, supplies are needed. You could use your scraps from your fat quarters today. If you prefer, you could go out and buy new fat quarters. You need 2 pieces that are at least a 1/2 inch bigger than your zipper. I'm personally going to be using a 9-inch zipper. So you want your fabric to be at least 9.5 inches by 18 inches to give you a 9 by 9 square bag.